bit on protists. Now, at this point, we're talking about eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are organisms that have a membrane-bound nucleus and organelles. They include protists and plants and animals and fungi. But here we're talking about protists. So what are protists? Well, first of all, let me tell you about what they're not. They're not a group, okay? They're actually a bunch of groups. Protists are essentially all members of the domain Eukarya that are not currently classified as plants, animals, or fungi. So they're all the rest of them. They're incredibly diverse. Now, for practical purposes, they include protozoans, algae, slime molds, and water molds. Protozoan is simply a word which describes a single-celled, heterotrophic eukaryote, usually is capable of moving itself through the water. The word algae basically refers to any photosynthetic eukaryote that's not currently classified in the plant kingdom. Okay, so there's a bunch of those too. Slime molds and water molds, well, they're kind of oddballs, but they're protists as well. Here's just some examples of groups of protists, and this is in no way arranged phylogenetically or taxonomically. Diatoms are single-celled algae that live in fresh water and salt water. They tend to have little glass shells or tests, and as they die, their little shells sink into the ocean and form sediments known as diatomaceous earth. Dinoflagellates are single-celled algae that have two flagella and a little groove in their shell made of cellulose. These are important both of these are important phytoplankton. And dinoflagellates, some of them are known to cause red tide, and some dinoflagellates live symbiotically inside corals. Brown algae are multicellular. This includes sargassum that washes up on our beaches. That includes, also kelp and other things like that. Water molds look superficially like molds or fungi, but they're technically not classified in the fungus kingdom. They just bear a superficial resemblance to them. They live in the water where they can break down things kind of similar to what molds do. They also can live in moist soil, and one water mold was responsible for the Irish potato famine. Ciliates are single-celled protozoans that swim using cilia. Zooflagellates are single-celled protozoans that swim using flagella. You can read examples of those in your notes. Foraminiferans and radiolarians live in the ocean. They're also single-celled protozoans that have these little spiky appendages. Foraminiferans have little calcium shells, and radiolarians have little glass shells, and their little skeletons are an important part of the marine sediment. In fact, there's a very rich fossil record of foraminiferans which shows nice fossil succession and can be used to date, used for index fossils. The euglenozoans include the photosynthetic euglena, but also includes some non-photosynthetic things too. Amoebas are single-celled protozoans that swim using pseudopodia or false feet. Slime molds are actually related to the amoebas, except slime molds can form multi-cellular mold-like colonies. The Rhodophyta are the red algae, and they're primarily marine, and the Chlorophyta are the green algae, and these happen to be the closest relatives to the plant kingdom. So again, this is just a brief overview of the incredible diversity of protists.